Who are we here with?
We got a special guest, Austin of Demonstrabo.
Austin. Oh, Evil Pineapple AI. That's him.
Mm-hmm.
Check him out on Reddit. Huh?
Reddit handle.
Today we're bringing in a guest, and we're going to get crazy, folks. Ka-razy. Woo! So strap on in. Let's see where this takes us.
Let's settle into this podcast. So that one's gonna piss me off because I missed the words. I did the music only, but that's fine. That's fine. It's a little different format. It's a little different.
Different. Welcome, folks. Whew, I'm exhausted. Episode's over for today. Oh, we're gonna hang out and do some more. Okay. Well, this is our friend Austin here. He's a professional.
Thanks
Dotting
for
his
having me,
Q's,
kids.
crossing his T's, his I's. You want to tell the audience like a couple sentences, like, "Hey, this is what I like. This is what I don't like."
Oh, you want me to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Man, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So, I enjoy being around good people. I like learning things. That's probably my favorite thing. And I enjoy traveling. Those are like the big things. And I wanna give to people that give back, and help people who help themselves. So you guys seemed like those kind of people. Reached out to me, and you know what? I thought this could be a valuable interaction. So why not? That's why I'm here.
I like it. I like them.
Pretty much here
Here,
to learn a little lesson, and understand how we are.
It's
Oh,
funny.
yeah.
Right now, we think we're the teachers, but could he be the teacher later?
I think
don't
so.
know. We're gonna see, folks. We're gonna see. It's a lot to be learning.
He does seem ahead of us. As a 20-year-old, I would never be this mature.
No, he's way 22er than I am.
22er. That's gonna be my new action verb. Throw it on my resume. Like
22er.
the unpanderers say I'm one hell of a 22er. No, but yeah. So I wanted to, because it's your guys' podcast. I wanted to, whichever one of you guys wants to go first, whoever's the most important one. But
That's
yeah. Give me a little bit of your like background. What you do.
I'm from the Northeast Philadelphia area. I do a lot of sophisticated stuff. Like I drive the truck. Sometimes I drop off the toilet paper to the customer. Sometimes it's paper towels. Sometimes it's soap. And then I get back in my truck and I go to the next stop. It's really crazy. It's pretty it's scientifical. But I do that in a lot of poor urban areas in Philadelphia. Shout out. Then I come back and I mow lawn. I take care of my child. I try and play video games. I try and do a podcast. I try and drink some drinks once in a while. And I just started working out. If everyone's noticed, it's day 10 and I don't know about you guys.
He's trying to show off his body
good, huh?
all the time. I'm getting tired of it.
I think I might be done. This six-pack shows up on day 12. I'll be in real good shape.
Oh yeah, throw it on
Hasn't
YouTube.
gotten here yet.
I can see the shake.
Fingers crossed.
You're moving your stomach and your chest is jiggling.
They say the six-pack's the last thing to come in, though, I think.
Yeah.
So I should be good. Because I go down the shore next week for vacation, so it better be ready by then.
Yeah. What's the shore to you?
New Jersey.
Okay, Jersey.
The
Ooh.
Jersey Shore points. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the Jersey Shore, oddly enough. In Philadelphia, you go to the Jersey Shore, but it's like south. So like you have like Wildwood, Ocean City, Sea Isle, a bunch of those places. If you're from New York and you go to the Jersey Shore, you go to North Points, or what's it called? The Jersey Shore, where the
Where it
show
was
Jersey
filmed.
Shore takes place.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's New York, New Jersey. Philadelphia, New Jersey?
You're trying to separate it from those people, huh?
I'm
Yeah.
trying to.
There's a difference.
There's a big difference. So that's what we
Alrighty.
do.
Awesome. And then you, Dan?
Well, I'm an engineer for NASA. I do software and other engineering, electrical, like radiation devices, sorts of crazy stuff that is really kind of boring when you get down to it. So in my free time, I also do a podcast with this guy. Was it my idea to start this podcast? I think it was, right? I'm like, we should do this. I'm going to take credit.
I think it was.
And then, yeah, thanks. And then I have
You
a
deserve
couple.
credit.
Thank you. Then I have
You're the NASA scientist. No, I'm just messing around. No, but
I try not to inflate my ego. I just like saying it every now and then.
Yeah.
Just sprinkle
Tell
it.
people you're an astronaut. That's what you
Almost.
need to say.
Oh, I'm getting closer. In a couple floors.
Yeah, closer than most. But no, that's awesome, and that's cool. Like, you know, for me, there's like a huge dichotomy between who you two are as people, and like, you know, you guys are buddies, went to the same high school. Sorry, I should have let you guys approach that, but drop that bomb.
No, just hit it.
Yeah, man. I think that's really cool, and you know, for me, like I said, I like bringing people value, and I think, you know, I think it's cool showing people, you know, this is the first time we've met, and we're having a pretty cool interaction, you know. And the other thing is, you know, one of you guys is a NASA engineer. The other one lives in Philadelphia, you know, and like you said, you're riding around, you know, low income areas, you know, doing your job, things like that. And that's really cool. So like if that, for a question I'd have to say is like, if you guys had to boil down your 3 common interests, what would it be? Like, what are the 3 things that you guys come together for?
Interesting people or things or ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I know that one. Those little interactions you get with people that don't have words.
Mm-hmm.
I know Dan loves them.
Yeah, today so they're giving away free iced tea, and there's 2 really cute girls handing them out, and there's no like real talk for like a little part of it, and you could tell they're totally digging me. I love that.
The unspoken word. I know he loves that.
Exactly.
And then I don't want to say flexibility of the brain or deepness of the brain or something where
You're talking about the plasticity, kind of like being flexible and
a
keep
little
moving.
bit. Yeah.
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 And that's
I know
something I think.
what it means.
Sure, yeah.
You know, a lot of people go through life and they just kind of have like a set way of dealing with things, and I think Nick and I both take it, look at it, and say like, this is the normal way, this is the way I want to do it, and then this is like a ridiculous way, and let's just merge all those and see what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we look down on the average way, but we see it and we're like, what else is there?
Yeah, Nick levels me off because sometimes I sound like a snob or a smug. Smug SOB.
NASA.
NASA.
Oh,
What does that stand for again? Nah, but no, that's awesome.
Not a snob, eh?
Not a scientist, eh?
But no, that's awesome, and I like the fact you guys brought up, you know, like a little background on me, psychology major, but you know, neuroplasticity, that's a big thing, you know, of everyone. You know, doing drugs kills your brain cells, doing the same thing makes your brain think a certain way. Same thing with your body, you know, if you hit the gym for 6 months and you're doing the same thing every day, it's going to plateau and your body's not going to respond, you know. That being said, it's like, you know, in your day-to-day life, what would you say in the past year, where has your mindset changed? You know, whether that's in your job, the way you live your personal life, you know, the podcast, like what do you feel like you've developed mentally that's like had a large impact?
You first.
You want to go first?
I always forget where you are.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, you first. How do you like that?
That's the other way. But I think it's helped me a little bit socially, as I'm generally pretty shy, so I can now break out of my shell a little bit more and be more confident. And whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. I think the first maybe dozen episodes you do of a podcast, you're kind of giggly and a little giddy, and you're focused, but it's not like a directed focus. And now I think I have a more directed focus when I talk to people. So podcast pluses. That's what mine are.
Podcast pluses. I like that. Dan.
Yeah.
For me, it's I guess it's realization that I probably need a new job. I know we were just talking about helping the community and doing all this great stuff and everything, but it's super low income and it's kind of a dead end job. Like it's a family business that's not doing very well, and we don't have any buying power. By the time I buy a case of paper towels, I buy it for, let's say, $20. I try and sell it for $25, $30. They're selling it at the superstore for like $12. Like, yeah. I'm like, geez, I could just go down there and buy it and sell it for, you know. But it's with a lot of my products. Stuff's going through the roof. Bigger and bigger stores have better buying power. Not to mention how many people are walking into a foot traffic place in like urban area of Philadelphia, and it's got no future. So I think this podcast has helped me realize, collect my skills, get myself together, do something with my college degree, which was, we ready? I'm a newspaper writer. I'm a journalist, baby. A journo. I'm going to get out there and journo.
Gonna go to the Jersey Shore. Just people watch. Be like,
I
today
could.
I saw a man eating 4 hot dogs, and I saw 2 girls that get an iced tea and didn't say anything, but they dug Dan.
Oh yeah,
And boom,
And
throw it
wow,
no
on,
winks
throw
though.
it
connected
out
it all
there.
together.
It's
So
the
Hey,
chin. It's all about the chin.
the
it's all
butt
about
chin.
the
It is a
chin.
butt chin. Butt chin will do it for you.
Oh, I'm jealous of the connection. My mustache doesn't touch my beard yet, and it makes me I need to shave.
But the,
You've got a couple. You've got a couple
yeah,
years.
this
I
is
think
a
we're
full
at
beard
50
though
up.
for me, so this is as far as it goes.
Yeah.
True.
But you guys being from high school, so you said you moved to Texas,
Mhm.
post college. You're in Philadelphia. So is that where you're both originally from, or
Yeah, Philadelphia area.
Philadelphia? Okay, that's awesome. Born and raised and all that jazz. So
Yeah, 18 years.
Cool.
I did my
Okay.
time.
Oh yeah. Oh look at this. I did
Where's
mine. Look at this guy.
other than Texas, unless that is your answer, like for both of you, where's the furthest you've been from like home? You know,
Texas is mine.
Texas.
Yeah.
You never vacate?
I mean, vacationed. I vacationed.
Yeah, I
to
was just curious. Now I'm curious. Where'd you vacation?
Italy,
Far away.
Spain, Hawaii.
Oh, look
Okay,
at this
that
guy.
counts.
He's
That
he's
counts.
but
world traveled.
It's like
I've been to Florida,
days.
New Jersey, Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how far I've been. You can just span that East Coast. If it were a globe, you'd be like, look at this. This guy's stretching the globe almost.
Did you like Florida? Because that's where I'm from. So
I didn't love it. No.
okay,
I liked it. I liked it, but no, I didn't love it.
That makes me happy because like I've
He's gonna shit on
been
the
there
state.
undergrad and I've been there, going to get my master's there. And my thing is, it's like I think it's this common trend when you've done something for so long, you become like desensitized. So my thing is like everyone from New York comes to Florida during the winter,
Okay.
And the things it's like I deal with the humidity and the lovely weather and the beaches all the time. And I'm not trying to complain about those nice things, but it's like,
Right.
it means less and less the more you have it. And like to relate that to you guys, Dan sent me his resume and all I could think is like, if that was my resume, whew, the world would be my oyster. And then here he is. He's like,
Same here, Dan.
I'm a little shy coming out of my shell. I just get NASA,
I'm bashful.
But no, like that's really cool. No, but you, bringing it back to you, Nick, that's cool. Like, working for a mom and pop, because like to relate it to me, like I actually, for my job, that's one of the big decisions I'm actually having right now is basically I have someone building databases for me in their mom and pop shop. Right. And then on the flip side, I have people reaching out to me, billion-dollar businesses, they can do things in a quarter of the time for half the price. And if I call them at 3 a.m., they're going to say, hey, what can I do? And that's kind of hard to get with the mom and pop. So like for you, this is something you could speak on, like, do you think you living the life, working for a mom and pop shop, is it the fact that they can't compete, or is it, lack of quote unquote skill set, lack of vision? Like, why do you think, the days of old where it's like there's a meat store, a dairy store, this store, and now it's, Amazon?
My guess is, and I don't know because I'm not not economically, whatever the word is, viable. I didn't take a lot of classes, but I think once the internet came around, it evened the playing field of speed. Back in the day, a big company to do something would have to go up the chain. You got to talk to the bottom guy. He's got to feed something up to his boss. He's got to feed something to his boss. They got to check, make sure it jives with their price system. They got to check with sales team. They got to do this, and then they can make the big sale. Back then, a mom and pop, I mean, it's like 5-10 people. It's like, hey, just tell the boss we'll do it tomorrow. Now with, I guess, the internet, everything moving as quick as it does, they're almost as quick as mom and pop stores. I mean, you can send an email to the boss, email to his boss, and email to his boss all within 6 hours. So now the only advantage the mom and pop had, which was a flexibility of speed, it's kind of, do you care if it's 5 minutes or 15 minutes to get a product? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Damn,
And that's what Amazon, that's what I think. I don't know.
Well, they didn't teach me to think like that in college, man, because I didn't think of it that way. That's actually, wow, man, that's actually pretty thought-provoking. Wow.
And
Yeah, sorry.
most of the businesses that you still do business with, they're kind of like friends, right? I mean, they've been
they're
around
all
for a
mom
long
and
time.
poppy in a way. Like,
Yeah.
all my customers are my friends. They're not my customers because they love my product. I mean, it's paper towels and toilet paper and soap and stuff. But like, I go there and I know them by name. I know about their kid going to college. I know, dude, are you thinking of getting that knee replaced? Like, I know you keep looking it up. Like, I don't know. And he's like, I'm fine. Like, it's an old guy. Like, he's like stuck in his ways. And I like talking to him. I like being like, hey, do you sell whatchamacallit yet? And he's like, it'll sell eventually. I'm like, it ain't gonna sell. I tell a joke and I put this stuff away. I know where his stuff goes in his store. Like I'll start to put it away, and he's like, Jimmy will get it. I'm like, Jimmy's off on vacation. Like it's just weird. It's like I work for the people I'm delivering to. It's like they're my friends almost, and I'm helping them out, and then they help out by buying from me, and it's like a big friend system. And eventually, new people come over, businesses go out of business, bars have to find new people to buy from, and the new people, anytime they come in, they're not my friends, so they say, hey, what's your prices? And I say, they're a little high. Here you go. He says, yeah, I try, but what are you gonna say? So I'm not buying it for him, you know what I mean? I'm not spending the guy's money. So I say, here's my prices. And he says, you're way higher than so-and-so, and you're higher than so-and-so. I say, yeah, we'll see if I can lower the price a little, but I can't. I'm not working for free, And nine times out of 10, they go to a new customer. They buy it themselves or pick it up or whatever. And what am I gonna say? Come back. I'm funny.
Yeah, man.
What are you gonna do? Hey, it's the funny guy.
I feel you on that, and that actually that kind of transcends into what I was going to ask Dan. I understand what you're doing. You can't really necessarily go into the nitty-gritty of software and hardware and stuff, but it's not that you would feel responsible, but can you see what you're doing in your day to day? I saw you're doing stuff for biologists, radiologists, things like that. It's how much of that stuff could you imagine people doing versus machines?
So the way I integrate with International Space Station is what my main focus was. The way I integrate it with it is crew health and safety. So the entire purpose of my job is that it can't be taken over by automation, by robots completely. Anything they can do via, any sort of digital download, uplink, they're going to do it because it saves time and money, and that's just the way it goes. It's the way now the world's going. So I guess I'm not too fearful that it's going to get taken over by people, by robots.
That's my man. Stick it to robots. Oops.
Yeah, stick it to the robots.
You go.
But it's kind of a weird quirk because I'm in a group that is all human-based. It's all focused on the health and safety of the astronauts. But I'm the software guy, so I'm focused on automating the things that are not normally automatable. So I tend to have different gimmicks and ways to make things work for me. I'll just put it that way.
Okay. No, that's really interesting because that's basically what I'm trying to do is in my head, I don't have any, I'm looking down right now because I'm thinking, but I don't have any pens and papers of preconceived notes. So basically what I'm trying to do is relate you to not only to myself, but the people are watching you, provide value. So my thing is, I don't know if you've read it, Dale Carnegie Jr.'s How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'd say that's a book I read and changed my life. And I think that's something you both kind of straddle, whereas he says, remembering people's names is the most important thing you can do. And everyone's goal in life is to feel important. And, I would argue, objectively, someone would come over and say, you're a NASA scientist, you're important. But that being said, you're interfacing with a lot of machines, like you said, you have your gimmicks and things that you work with software and hardware versus, in your day-to-day, Nick, you're not necessarily given some of the best price, but what you can do is make them feel important. Like you said, hey, how's your knee? How's your son at college? Hey, I saw there's a new car out there. You get it? And he'd be like, oh yeah, I traded in the old one, blah, blah, blah. And it's and that's something I really think is interesting, bridging that gap, especially with the birth of technology, because those human interactions, like you guys said, some of your favorite things are no one's talking, but you pick up on those little gestures, those little movements, people looking around and stuff. And it's that's something a robot will never do. And I'm not talking Terminator and stuff. I'm just saying realistically, if you go to McDonald's, I've seen them in China when I was there, you can talk to something and it will, give feedback systems and order a sandwich for you versus, in America, I've had wonderful interactions with someone who is just quote unquote a drive-through employee. That's something I did. And it's, like we were saying earlier, you can either become, kind of jaded because you've been doing it so long, or you can be like, hey, I know what people think of drive-through guys. I'm going to be the one where every time they come through my drive-through, they leave with a smile. You know what I'm saying? And it's
I 100% agree.
I think
what you're saying.
I can't wait until robots can actually pick up on body language and then complain.
Stop.
Yeah, no.
You having a mood swing?
Scary. Yeah. I'm just imagining some robot being like, your posture's not correct. In 3 years, you're going to need surgery. And it's just like, thanks.
Piss
Thanks,
into this
robot.
cup.
Like, who built you? Be like,
Hey, yeah,
IBM.
are you are you
Yeah.
a doctor robot? I was
Exactly.
before I was replaced by a better robot. You just
Oh,
flip in burgers real angry. And you're like,
Oh, yeah.
wow, that was a doctor robot turned into a burger flip robot.
He
He's
turns
mad.
to you with a
Oh.
knife a little bit. He gets a little shaky, and you're just like, robots aren't supposed to shake like that.
That'd be a good movie. Like the robots getting replaced by newer robots, and it's just the robots turn on each other. That'd be
Yeah,
crazy. That'd
it
be a
would.
bad day for everyone. All the
It
humans are
would.
just like, what do we do? You know? I mean, geez, man. But that's crazy. So, yeah. So, how old are you guys, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, we're good.
Let me see. 33-ish, I think.
33.
I stopped counting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
33-ish.
You guys are both the same age. Awesome, awesome. Where'd you
Yeah.
guys go to school? In Philadelphia, or
Mhm.
what?
Just outside a prestigious preparatory high school outside of Philadelphia.
Bunch of dudes getting taught by a bunch of
dudes,
bros.
all dude school. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's like
Oh,
a prep,
yeah.
like a prep school,
Oh,
like
yeah.
a.
Lasallian? We'll say Lasallian.
Okay.
Salient. Yeah, we'll say that. That's a
Is-
good way to put it.
Yeah. I did high school. I did 2 years in Japan, and then I did 2 years in Florida. And
Yeah, wait, so
what-
do you know Japanese and all these other languages?
I know enough. Like when I lived there, I knew enough to get around. Like I took Japanese too in there, so like ogenki desu ka is like how are you doing? Omizu onigai shimasu is like can I please have water? Things like that. I can count to 10.
Like, could you ask for like a burger with cheese and be like, with cheese? Like, could you say with cheese? Like, make sure you say the with cheese part.
Where I lived, it's Okinawa. So basically, that's during the Pacific Campaign during World War II, they got hammered hard. So they know what Americans are like, and we're in Okinawa. We basically fuel their economy because we make purchases. We go out off base. Basically, the way it works is there's fences, and that land is American land. And once you're off, you're in Japan. You're in Okinawan, in Okinawa. They don't consider themselves Japanese per se. I don't want to make gross generalizations, but they're the Ryukyu kingdom, the Ryukyuan. They got conquered during World War II. So it's a kind of strange thing, but they do make it very conducive for Americans. Quick tip: you're in Japan, you don't point. That's rude. That's what you do to dogs.
Okay.
So the reason I don't know how to say hamburgers because basically, if my phone is if this is the menu, you would
Okay.
point at it.
Touchscreen.
It's a
Okay.
picture. It's not touchscreen. It's just a picture,
Oh,
and you
okay.
point at
Okay.
it with your palm up, and they'll know what you want. Another thing is,
Palm up. Hold on. Can I practice this? Hold on.
yeah,
I've
palm
never.
up and you
I
point.
always point palm down. That's so weird. I never thought of it until you just said that. So I'll be like,
yeah,
You
hey,
probably
can I
like
get
this.
this? Hey, can I
Yeah,
get
like-
some of these?
yeah.
That's
It's interesting,
Okay.
There's tons of stuff, or like you don't put your chopsticks straight down in the bowl because that's what they do. They have tombs for their ancestors, and when they do it, it's like it's the ease of use. I don't want to get this stuff wrong because I don't want to be culturally insensitive, but like
Right.
you're not supposed to do that. Like when I moved to Japan because my dad's a Marine, they literally tell you like you take a week-long course basically like these are the do's and don'ts. Like
Okay.
if you do something bad, you represent America, and
Right, you don't
it's a
want to be
no-no. And the other thing is, if you're
finger wagging. Okay.
yeah, I was a 15-year-old kid, so bear in mind they're like, you make mistakes, do anything silly, it's your dad's career. You
Right.
will ship your whole family off for the next 3 years, and your dad will
Face
stay here.
Scare you straight. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure you have to put up a good face, but I'm sure they wouldn't ship you to hell. You know what I
Mm-mm.
mean? Like if you
No,
were like
but-
doing whatever, but they really try and they really
Yeah.
hammer it home. Huh?
There's I don't want to go too deep, but at my high school, man, like when things went awry, they'd have like the inspector general of the base come and interview high school kids, and then like there was a kid who got kicked off island, and his dad had 2 more years on deployment, and when he got kicked off, like my dad would always be like, hey, you don't want that to happen to me and your mom, because like what could you imagine what that would do to our relationship? Like you and your family are gone, your dad's still in Okinawa.
They didn't give that guy like some kind of discharge, did they?
I think
No, not
They just
dad's-
reassign him. Okay,
that's
cool.
fine, but it's the kid, because it's like
Right.
it's literally an international incident. You couldn't have your license until you were 18 because if you're an American and you're driving off base and crash and God forbid you injure or
Someone, right.
maim someone that isn't American, that's literally an international
That's like-
incident.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I lived on Okinawa. It's like 5 miles wide at its widest point and like 63 miles long. I went to mainland a few times. I swam competitively, so like went to Tokyo. But
That explains why you're so fat. I
yeah,
see.
exactly, man. But
Really?
it's a really cool place. I recommend going to anyone. I went to China for a bit. But I would say it's more of a culture shock coming back than going there. Because when I went there, it's very military. Everyone has that similarity, that core belief. Like our
Hmm.
parents are doing very similar jobs, whether you're Air Force, Marine, Navy, whatever. Versus in every color of the
Back
same.
here,
Yeah, I was
melting
I
pot like hell.
exactly. I was the only
Yeah.
white, one of the only white kids in my school. So it's literally I'd be walking around, they'd be like, "Hey, white boy," and it's like they're talking to me. And then I moved back to Jacksonville, Florida, and I lived in a certain demographic area where everyone was white, everyone was affluent, everyone's
Really?
dad was a lawyer, a doctor,
Right.
some kind of six-digit stud, and my dad is just a Marine to them. And so
Right.
I'm riding a skateboard to school because in Japan, skating's cool, being a thrasher's cool, like Thrasher magazine. And I
Mhm.
come here and everyone's wearing Sperry's, polo, driving a Mustang to school, driving their dad's Porsche on Fridays when he doesn't have work. And I was like, I was more culture shocked coming back than when I went there. I was like, what's going on, guys? Like, what do you do for work? And they're like, oh, no, 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 no. That's my dad's car. And I'm like, Dad, can I drive?
Yeah, yeah.
No, son. And it's like,
Nope.
and that's why I want to like provide value and stuff, because it's like I feel like it's really hard to contextualize this stuff if you've grown up in one place. Because what people don't realize is, I'm in California right now and it's beautiful, air, desert, cities, people are nice, good food and stuff.
You
And then
near the
there's
water?
Florida. Yeah, yeah. I'm in the Temecula area, so near San
Huh.
Diego.
All right.
And it's like you got Florida, then you got the Northeast. I went to Vermont. That's the furthest north I've ever been. And it's like if you take a step back and look at it objectively, you're like, this is all the same country, man. Like, if nature and nurture are things and your environment plays a role, like no wonder we're so different. No wonder it's hard for people to get along. Someone from Miami, Florida, who's seeing the beach every day and seeing Ferraris and stuff, it's totally different than someone from rural Philadelphia, where you might not see a car worth more than 10 grand your whole life. And that's not to discount the place. It's just it you have to understand that. And with the birth of technology, if you can go on social media and see all that great stuff, but not outside of your house, of course it's going to make you feel a little jaded and negative. Why does that kid my age on the other side of the country get to see the beach every day? Why is he, or why is she? And I think that's something that our society, in America is really grappling with. And it's kind of not a fun subject to talk about, man. But, that's why I think it's so cool to talk to you two, because you guys are shifting the paradigm because you're so different, and that's not a discount to who you are as people, but that's just, I think that says a lot about your character. The fact that you can do what you're doing in Philadelphia and you can do what you're doing in Texas, and you didn't speak for however long, you went to the same high school. Now, boom, here you are with the third dude. I'm 11 years younger than you guys, and you guys are showing me respect, listening to me. I've met guys who have PhDs and work for NASA, and they don't want to hear me talk. They don't. I've met guys who, I worked at Burger King. I met guys who delivered the bread for my store. They didn't want to talk to me. They just thought I was this or that. And I think that's what I mean by value is, don't discount people based off of your preconceptions, because you're only really hurting you. Like everyone can teach you something. It's just, one, is it worth learning? And two, are you actively listening? Are you, when someone talks to you, are you thinking of what you're going to say next to sound smart, cool, sexy, whatever, or are you like absorbing it? Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to go on a one man diatribe, but like
No, it's
that's
interesting.
my 2 cents.
I agree with
So
you
what
on
I
the
thought,
assuming
yeah,
like the certain level of people. So like a base human being has a certain respect for me, and it takes them to do something negatively for me to judge them negatively, for them to drop down on my respect peg. And everybody, I talk to everybody, I'm friendly with everybody. There's no reason for me to not talk to anybody. And I try to make sure that I understand their perspective, and then I'll share my perspective where it's needed. That's my aspect on it.
Yeah.
good way to put it. I think I'm in the same boat. I don't even need to expand on it. Actually, what I wanted to talk about is something you said interestingly. Social media. at one point you said it seemed like it lets someone in poor areas see rich stuff. Rich people say poor stuff. It kind of, would you say it's an equalizer for better or worse?
Yeah,
Or do you think it only lets poor people see good stuff? Like, is that what's?
see, and that's the tricky part because I've as someone who consumes media on a daily basis, we all kind of do,
Believe it or not, I do as well.
yeah, I don't I am very tepid to point the finger at anyone, because it's really easy to point until you're pointing in a mirror. And that's what people I've heard, people I respect say is, hey, social media is a mirror. You're only going to see what you follow, so if you're on the bad parts of Reddit, you're going to see bad things. If you're on the bad parts of Facebook versus if you're on the good part. But what I think is, I think people just don't consciously try to grasp like why people are in their circumstances. Why do people live in Beverly Hills? Because they're rich, they're famous, they don't have talent, they're all the Kim Kardashians. It's like, no. Let's take it back a step. Like, Kim Kardashian's father was one of the most famous lawyers of all time. He was huge. So
OJ trial, yeah.
Exactly. Like, is that not deserving of intergenerational wealth? And what is intergenerational wealth? It means your kids can do whatever they want and they're going to be successful. That is literally the American dream. So to discount that, I feel like that is kind of saying that's indicative of who you are. That being said, you look and people like to say, oh, well, look what's going on in Chicago, this and that. And it's like, why is that happening? And those conversations are unsavory. People don't necessarily want to have them, but there are answers. And I'm not necessarily the one to have it, but what I want to do is facilitate that. I think it's important that we kind of, because like, everyone knows about Chicago, but I'm sure there's violence in Philadelphia, and it's not exclusive to low-income places. I have buddies where I'm from in Florida whose parents did nothing but succeed in life, and they are more spiteful and depressed and have more negative tendencies than some of the kids I've met, moving around a lot that are from, my dad makes 15 grand a year selling Coca-Cola at the corner of the street, and they're the happiest person because when they get that new pair of shoes for Christmas. But the thing that's changed is, so even in my lifetime, is social media. Like, I got new shoes, but they're not the newest shoes. I got a new car, but what is new to me may not be new to you because I got a new Corolla, you got a new Corvette. They're both cars, but and I think that's what social media grapples with. It's not the quality of what you have in your life, it's the quality of your life. And it's like, how do we judge that? Because you guys are both healthy, you're both able to speak and think. So it's like, are you worse off because you're thinking you need to switch your career, or you know what I'm saying?
Right. And I think Dan wants to talk about diminishing returns, doesn't he? Do you?
Diminishing returns in what aspect?
Oh, no, I was going with the wealth factor.
I do like that, like the financially independent, retire early, as a perpetual wealth that people are striving towards so they could be free. And the free time is the most valuable time you can have.
Yeah.
And then social media on top of it is trying to sell you some materialistic dream. So you have all the marketers trying to sell you the next big thing. And I think that's overtaking social media, that most people are not getting focused on like the simple things, the people that day in, day out do something, that they enjoy, and they don't focus on it. Like in Japan, there's people that master a job, and regardless of what that job is, people respect it. And there's not that much respect here.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting thing here. Yeah.
That's actually a really good point. That's an analogy I'd use a lot, in Japan, not to make gross generalizations, but you can meet a janitor and the way they view it is they're going to be the best janitor they possibly could be. And I'm not saying, every Japanese person's going to be like that, but it's kind of indicative of culture, like you said. That being said, the what was that acronym you just said? Financially independent, retire early.
Mm-hmm. FIRE. Yep. FIRE.
I'm a big believer, and this isn't even to like tie it into religion, but like, have you heard the saying like, idle hands do the devil's work?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's the thing, it's like, take it 30, 40 years back, or probably not that, before World War II, what were you doing on a daily basis to get by? You'd have to go to the meat, like your job kind of alludes to, Nick. You have to go to the meat store, the dairy store, the toilet paper store. You need to go talk to this person to make sure this is in check. Whereas now, I call one guy, my financial advisor.
That's all of it.
Exactly. I go on Amazon, all of it. And it's like, so what do you do with all that extra time?
Interesting.
Consume. We're not producing at the level we consume. And you know, if you eat too much food, you get fat. Unless you give energy, you work out. So what are you doing with your mind? If all you do is consume and take, like, your mind can't literally get fat, but I'd argue if you consume too much, it starts to get a little unhealthy. And it's like, right now we're basically having a mental workout. We're given, you know,
right. 100% sure.
I don't know you guys, so I have to be really deliberate with what I'm saying. Same with you guys. You know, no one wants to be the guy who's just like, you're wrong, bye. You know, so
here's something interesting. You brought up intergenerational wealth. I would actually argue that wealth is awesome if you can get it. Like, you try and work as hard as you can. You invent what you can. You do what you can. You become good at what you do, and then you get paid for it. And with that money, you can buy things to help your family, your friends, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
What I would argue is that wealth has its own. Everything has a downside, and I think the downside of wealth is what you touched on, a Kardashian. If your children grow up wealthy, I don't think there's a way to instill a work ethic on them. I think that's the cost of being rich. I mean, because otherwise being rich would be the best thing in the world. But I think there's a cost to it. If you get this, there will be a detriment to this. And I really think if you left your kids $1 billion, they would grow up to be pieces of shit regardless of who they are. Like, not their fault, but like, because when you're that ingrained in wealth and just you don't have to work for anything, a little bit of what you said, you're consuming, they don't produce anything.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they? I mean, you can't force your child to work. I mean, you're going to make your billionaire child work at McDonald's for 4 years or travel the world or like learn other people's cultures. And, like, do you know what I mean?
The answer is yes. I would make them work at McDonald's.
And that's the thing, though. And, you know, and I'm not trying to be argumentative or anything, but the reason I kind of disagree with that is because, you know, I've heard a lot of people say, you know, and a lot of these aren't, you know, like, I'm kind of stealing from like Dan Pena right now. He's a really prolific investor, you know, does like seminars and all that kind of cool stuff. But that being said, you know, one of my favorite things he said is, you know, he's like, everyone says life is a journey. And how's that working out for you? He's like, Bill Gates' kids, their life's a process. And that's the thing. I don't know their names. I don't know the names of the Gates kids. I didn't know the name of the Trump kids until he got elected for president. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think, you know, like Dan kind of said, you could make, if you were a billionaire, you could instill those values. But the thing is, what I grapple with is, if I became a billionaire and I had $1 billion, would I need to keep going to work? Because if I keep going to work, the likelihood is once I have a child, if I'm running $1 billion business, I'm not the one raising it. My wife's probably not raising it because she's probably running my nonprofit. So
third person is an
exactly
nanny, whoever someone.
Versus, you know, the Rockefellers and stuff, you know, they were taking their kids with them. Their kids were, you know, same thing with Trump. Everyone says, oh, well, his dad did this and that. If you look at the pictures of what his dad did, you saw a little Donald Trump there. And I'm not trying to say, oh, he's a good this or a good bad that.
He's a clone.
He was there when his dad was making huge deals. You know, look at the Kardashians. Are their kids there when they're doing this or that? They're only there when there's a good picture to be taken. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but these are like I said, these are the conversations we really need to focus on having, you know, because it's dangerous, you know, these wants and needs. What's the Westworld quotes? Like, these violent ways have violent ends or something like that.
Do you watch Westworld? I thought you did.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought I was pointing to Dan.
I need to watch it. I need to watch it.
I didn't watch it. Spoil.
You're good, dude. No, that's cool. I already know it's like about sex robots and stuff. And
it's
the future and alternate reality. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I do want to see it. I didn't.
I'm a fan of the sci-fi. Oh yeah, I can't afford HBO though. I got that free month, and then I was like, how much can I watch in a month? You know.
Did you do Altered Carbon?
Not yet. My roommate watched it.
Put that on the definite.
Really?
Yeah, because that's
a series, or is that a movie?
Series.
Netflix.
10 series, hour long, and it's sci-fi, but done really well. Really, really good. Netflix.
Huh. I'll have to look that out. I haven't been on Netflix in a bit.
You give that one a shot.
Yeah, no, I
Whatever,
definitely
dude.
will.
Do whatever you gotta do. Do you consume a lot of media, or how do you roll?
Um, I have been reading a lot.
Okay.
Reading. I've always
I've
read.
never heard of it. They're in books on
Yeah,
tape, right? Obviously, you just download the tape, right?
I
Print
don't like
media.
reading on Kindle. I don't like reading on my phone. I don't like reading on the computer. Like
The
if we're
ones
gonna
that
be
are
on,
paper, right? You read paper?
yeah, I read books. And if I'm gonna
Mhm.
read it, if I'm gonna read, so like if I can't find a textbook, so right now I'm learning statistics, like the statistics that predates calculus, so I can do machine learning because I want to know what I'm doing. Um, if I'm gonna read 100 pages online, I'm gonna buy the paper and print it off. I don't care because for me, I remember better when I read it in my hands. And the other thing I like to do is I used to be really exclusive with the books I read. So I read like Warhammer 40K, which is like a sci-fi universe. And then I started going to Goodwill. Because my thing is like
Good call. Good call.
a lot of my buddies who get complimented for their clothes, they go and buy a $2 shirt from Goodwill that no one else has, and they
Right. No
throw
one
the
has it.
jacket.
Hmm.
Same thing with books. That's how I found How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie Jr. How to Sell Anything to Anybody by Joe Girard. How to there's tons of like these like books, and they're not even being sold as self-help books, but if you really read them and kind of try and apply them to your life, and it's like that's like everything. If you What you guys are saying to me, realistically, I'm going to take it, try and apply it to my life, and I'll probably take half of it. But the thing is, the next step that makes it truly valuable is when I start disseminating it and I give you credit. I'm like, hey, I was with these guys, the Unpanderers, Dan and Nick, and they said, fire, financial
Independence, retire
Retirement
early.
early. There you
retirement
go.
early. I need to repeat it a few times, but that's a cool one, and it's like taking these things and giving people credit, and then it's like, and then they're like, oh, well, who are these guys? How'd you meet them? And I'm like, oh, I met them on Reddit. And the thing is, if you really have these conversations with people, at least in my personal life, and I can't apply this ever, most people will be like, you Skyped people you met on Reddit, and you're
Yeah,
like,
you were like, what?
yeah, I did, and they'll be like, well,
It's weird until you try it, and then you find out that you can make real connections on it.
yeah, and that's the thing though, and that's why I deleted all my social media because I was like, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad.
Which
And
ones?
now
Which ones did you use? Can you guide me through this delete social media thing? So you used Facebook early on. Everyone, it got old. We understand. Like old people
I
and
have
political.
Facebook. So basically, what went is my parents wouldn't let me have social media. They were like,
Okay.
you don't need it. I turned like 15 in Japan, and I was like, I need Facebook, Dad, because I can't connect with people.
Need it. Gotta have it. Right.
Yeah. So I got Facebook. Then I got Tumblr. Then I got those were the two big ones. And then I moved to the States. Snapchat was really big.
Okay.
Instagram was really big. So I got those two. And then I graduated high school and had a lot of falling out with a lot of people. And the thing is, I didn't like them anymore, but I kept seeing them every day.
Oh, that's the worst.
I'd
Yep.
see someone who told me bad things about me, and I said bad things back. And
Now you're
thing
looking at them
is,
raise their kid, and it's kind of weird. Or like
yeah,
put up a political cartoon, and then
And-
you're like, oh, this is what they're having for dinner. I don't care.
exactly. I got
hate that.
Twitter. Yeah, but the thing is, and it's like I said, we like to see the world in black and white, but these gray areas, like the love of my life, my girlfriend of 3 years, I met her in Japan, right? And I like to call her, she's my white buffalo. Like if I'm a 6 out of 10, she's a 30 out of 10 to me.
Nice.
She's the one I never thought was gonna happen. And the thing is,
Do you
I
tell her
didn't
that she's your white buffalo?
Yeah, I told her that.
Cool.
She laughs. She thinks it's funny. But I literally freshman year, she sat next to me in a Photoshop class, right? And I like didn't know what to do. I was just this awkward kid in oversized polos and running. And it makes me upset. I got made fun of in high school for wearing my Asics with jeans, and now that's like the cool thing to do. But that's a totally different point. She sat down next to me, and we kind of had healthy interactions. How you doing? What's your dad do? Oh, he's a pilot. This and that. And she lived in Florida too. And I was on Twitter. And I was like, you know what? The worst thing she can do is ignore me. I was like, how many people ignore me on a daily basis? Like when I tweet, hey, I love this movie, no one retweeted it, no one liked it, I got ignored. And then you're like, do I delete the tweet and that? So I was like, I'm gonna get rid of Twitter. But before I do it, I'm just gonna text this girl and be like, hey, let me get your number. The worst she's gonna do is nothing. And she did. And 4 years later, a year of talking, now we're dating. We lived together for the 2 years, and that's why I'm so hard pressed to say technology is necessarily bad. It's really how we utilize it, and that's the thing. I don't feel like they're being used as learning platforms or a place to really connect. It's kind of flexing, it's kind of like Instagram, like, hey, this is why my life's better than yours. Tumblr, like, let's.
Oh, wait. So hold on. I like where you're going with that. So Instagram is definitely my glamour life. This is me, Hollywood, right? What you put on Instagram is like your fabulous life, your movie star.
It's hard to fake.
Right.
But it is fake.
No. Right. It's fake, but it's you have to really take the picture.
So wait.
Facebook is like. Oh, go ahead.
So Instagram is intended for their phone. So like while I was setting up all these social medias, I tried to set up the APIs, which is like a programmable interface. And Instagram actually doesn't let you post photos via their interface because they want you to have your phone and be physically there and then send it so it's like a real authenticated person. So
it's funny because I considered Instagram the fakest one, and you're like, oh, it doesn't let me use bots. It's real. It's interesting.
It makes it so that the people that post on there are really taking those photos.
Right, that makes sense because otherwise you'd spam the account.
Yeah, but that makes it so that celebrities spam the account with their real photos of, I don't know, upper echelon stuff.
Right. But hold on, I just wanted to get over what each social media aspect kind of was. Sure. So Facebook is kind of like older relatives and aunts that are racist uncles, aunts that give secret recipes to cookies that are kind of outdated. Like, is that Facebook?
Facebook's quantity. It's how much in the bank, how many connections, how many likes. That's the way I saw it.
That makes sense.
Twitter's kind of
I want to die.
Yeah,
that's the one I use the most. I use Twitter every day.
Twitter, I feel like, is the first one that kind of. Tumblr and Twitter were the first ones where the persona came to be, in my eyes, where it's like, this is who I am when people see me, and this is the person I am when I have an anonymous handle, and someone posts something and I could be like, hey, I've got 140 characters. Not everyone's like that.
So then how do you roll with Reddit? Because you still use Reddit, right? Is Reddit here? Oh, here's a good question, because I thought of this while you're going on, and you seem like an intelligent guy who really gets into things, right? So Austin here, let's say you got this big old lawn. Let's say you don't cut lawns, and you're like, damn, I got a house that's got a huge lawn. All right, I got to figure out what kind of weed whacker I'm going to buy, what kind of grass I'm going to get. What do you do? Because you seem to get deep into something. Do you go on Reddit? Do you post into Google, like, what's the best mower? Like, do you start comparing mowers? Do you figure out what the best weed whacker is for the value? Like, what do you do? Because you seem like a guy who gets into it.
Yeah.
You're going to have the best lawn. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like I appreciate you saying that. That's
I'm not good or bad. I was just you seem like you're going to be the best at it, and I appreciate that. And I have a method, and I was just curious if it's similar to what you would do.
And this is a funny thing. I kind of prefaced it earlier. I want to get into tech because I want to understand it, because I don't really enjoy it. But I try to stay away from Google as much as I can. So I use like DuckDuckGo.
That still exists?
I don't.
Things like that, because like I don't want to be cannon fodder. I don't want people to use my information. I know they're getting it anyways because I have a Samsung S9, so it's kind of if I can make a choice not to. But that being said, so if I'm going to have to mow my lawn, probably I'm going to realistically I've stopped texting as much. I like calling people. So what I'd probably do is I'd be like, who do I know that has a house and has a really nice lawn? I'd be like, Okay. Yeah, I'll be like, okay,
Uncle so and so, cousin, friend.
Dan lives in Texas. I know all them Texans got some good land, so let me see what he does. And and then I'll talk to him, and he'll be like, yeah, man, I have to
ask Jose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. He might be like, hey, Jose mows my lawn, but he actually uses a push lawnmower because he says if you instead of just walking with it, if you run with it, it goes super fast, gets a super good cut, and it's a workout. And me being the person I am, I'm like, I hate mowing the lawn. It's too loud to listen to music to. But if I do it when I'm pushing and I'm running and I can listen to my music, I don't listen to music. I'll listen to audiobooks. I'm doing 3 productive things at once. That hour that I hated is now an hour that I can love. That's how I view my life, because like I'm kind of a control freak, and I'm very hard pressed to do things I don't want to do. So the way I get past that is I trick myself into wanting to do it. So if that kind of answers your question.
Kind of does. Hey, I was just curious.
Yeah. But that being said, like Reddit for my computer, like it's like programming. Like there's the first level where you're like, I'm good at this, and then you just realize you're like, wow, there's like 10-year-old kids in India that could outcode me every day of the week. Same thing with building a computer, you know? So like on Reddit, I was like, hey guys,
Build your PC?
Not yet, but I went on PC Master Race and I was basically like, hey guys, have mercy. I'm about to sound really silly, but my MacBook Pro doesn't work for my programs anymore. And
Mac, get out of it. Get out
yeah,
of
I was like,
I'm over the Master Race here.
Exactly. And they're all like, we'll forgive you for you using a Unix-based system, but here's what I would do. What's your budget?
I like how you made the Reddit PC dudes sound like nerds. They totally are, but
oh, dude, but it's like but the thing is, like, it's like everything,
it's
like everything you can get into. It's got it. People find it worth getting into, you know. So my thing is, I'm like, wait,
PC build simulator, where you can practice building your own computer.
Was that free, or were they selling that? That was like a $20 game, right?
I don't know how much it was, but watching it is the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life.
Have you Googled it? I haven't Googled it yet.
I was watching some guy Twitch. He was just like, he would remove one screw at a time and like switch out the motherboard, put the screws back.
Oh my god.
There's a nice long pause. And there were like 30 people watching this guy do the same thing, and I was like, oh,
really?
What's the point of this? I guess if you don't know how to do it, maybe people are like, it's educational.
Exactly. And that's the thing. So it's like, you know, all these people were giving me, you know, the way I see it, years of advice. Some guy would be like, hey, this is the motherboard you want because it's going to allow you to, if say they're like, you do deep learning, you're going to want one GPU right now, but if in 6 months you need another, if you buy this motherboard, you're not going to be able to do it. If you spend the extra $15 now, you can. And like, I love that. And then once they do it, yeah, you can either accept it at face value, or what I do now is I'll be like, I'm going to go and fact check them, not to be mean, but I want to learn. I want to become I want to become not an expert, but my favorite saying is I want to know enough to be dangerous. So I like that. And that's basically it. So I'm probably not going to be able to out talk the guy who builds computers for his livelihood, but when he says, hey, this is the motherboard I need for 2 sticks of 8 gig RAM, blah blah, like I know what that means now, versus a month ago or 2 months ago I'd be like, a RAM's a stick, like a USB, and they'd be like, you know,
no.
So yeah,
interesting. So that's what it's a little bit what I like to do. I get obsessed enough with an item. Yeah, the sweat, but I was working out before I came on the podcast. Jeez, everyone, you know. What I like to do is I like to get obsessed enough with an item or a subject or a set of variables that I know 75% of, or 70-ish% of the knowledge that there is to know. Like, I'm not going to know 100%. I would have to dedicate my life to something. And if we were to use a term from earlier in the episode, diminishing returns, I think you can hit 50% of the knowledge of something pretty quickly. As I'm sure both of you realize.
Oh, I agree.
You can get pretty into, like, if I had known nothing about lawnmowers and ride mowers and all this other stuff and how to weed whack and the best gardening supplies and everything, you do enough research in like 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and then hands-on stuff for a couple weeks, you're already at like the 50% level. You put in some more effort, you're at 60%. Like, you're not going to spend the rest of your life trying to narrow down the gardening and the weeding and which hoe is the best. But you can get pretty adept pretty quickly if you're A, a quick learner, B, know where to look, and C, apply yourself. And I think all three of us kind of seem to already know how to do that.
Yeah.
And that's interesting that you said Reddit the most, because I think Reddit has the deepest holes.
Oh, Reddit.
You can get the deepest on Reddit.
Ooh, it's Alice in Wonderland sometimes,
yes, it
man.
is.
Like, you're just like, wow, I didn't know people could commit their whole life to this. But then you kind of have a respect for it, because you're like, you know, for me, I was like, something trivial like a computer. These guys literally sit there for hours, and I'm not dissing it. I think it's so impressive, debating not only what's better,
which voltage is best for this. You're
what
like,
water cooler. Like, I read some guy's response. He's like, water cooled systems are worse than air cooled systems unless you're willing to do a custom rig where the surface area is this. I'm like,
right. You're like,
whoa,
it just blew you away.
Same thing with
interesting is you're almost using his work to cheat though. Right? Because I mean, you didn't do the damn research. I know I wouldn't ever. And you look at it, and you don't take it at face value. You said you got to look it up, but you definitely take that as that's wisdom. Like we were talking about earlier, that's like a multi-year individual who's done all his research and just was so sick of someone saying something that he put it on the internet for you to read. Well, that's something that the internet does, which I find is very interesting. It's propelling people who know nothing about lawnmowers, building computers, or anything else, or learning a language, coding. Do you know you couldn't do this 10 years ago, could you?
Not
Now
really,
you can
no.
No.
friggin' just look it up. Like I just started looking up I forget what language it is. The
English.
Grasshopper app?
Grasshopper? What is a grasshopper? Yeah.
It's a Grasshopper app. I think I want to say what language is it? It's not Java, it's JavaScript. Some kind of
JavaScript is a
JavaScript.
web-based language, yes.
Yeah.
But is there a different kind of JavaScript? Is there like two different kinds or something
Like,
Java
There's
and
Java and
JavaScript?
JavaScript. Java is a different type of language.
Then maybe it's okay. Then maybe it's JavaScript. Anyway, it's Grasshopper app. I just downloaded it and I was screwing around and I was like, oh, this is how you program. And I was like learning a little bit of code. But I was just doing this when I was bored. And I was like, 20 years ago, that's like
You have
it's
to
not
pay money to
existent.
go to a
It's not
college
existent.
and
Right, but
Yeah.
like that's wild. And I wonder what that does for the future of humanity and intelligence and learning and
I can't wait until
jobs.
that educational like university system crashes. Because the amount of debt
Oh,
that
it
people
has
take on,
to.
it has to. There's no way that
I'm
these
still
like
I'm
online
actually
courses
I'm
don't get
33,
certified.
still paying for college.
Yeah, and you're saddled with debt for the rest of your life. For most of it.
No, 7 more years, my friend.
Just a
I will be
majority.
40 and debt free.
I can't wait until there's
Oh.
an online college that you can just go to and pay almost nothing, and they certify you to be an engineer or something,
Right.
something equivalent. Oh, what's he looking at?
Uh-oh. Our man
Sorry,
turned
I had
Oh, look,
I
now
had
we're
to
back in
turn
the
on the
light.
light.
He's
It was
attached.
getting a
Yeah,
little
my bad.
dark there.
Yeah.
I had to get should have given you guys fair
Sun-
warning. But that's a
sunset.
good segue. What do you guys, as college graduates, both of you, what do you feel about the state of the education system? What do you
So, like,
do you
I guess
Wherever the hell you are.
my take on it is that I went in with the idea that I just wanted to create and build something, and I didn't really have an idea of how much money I would get from it. I knew I'd probably do okay as an engineer since that's probably one of the more valuable things, but I wasn't looking at the money side of it. Now, if I wasn't an engineer, if I didn't want to go in that route, I would probably have a lot of disdain because I wouldn't be able to make back the money that I'd put into college. I'd have fun and I would have loved my time in college, but I'd be like Nick. I'd be stuck with it for, 20 years almost. And that's not something that people should carry on for 20 years when they're making the decision at 17 where to go and how much to pay for it.
Yeah.
No, I agree 100%. I actually I live with someone who's a admissions officer. And like she's like, we have to keep enrollment at X amount. We have to charge all this, and she feels guilty that they're charging these kids X amount, like 5 figures to go to college for a year, and you got to do it for 4 years. Like you're looking at 6 figures of debt sometimes for kids who are 17. You might change your mind by the time you're 24. You might be like, oh, geez, I'm bigger into fishing. I love fishing. I want to become a fisherman. Like, to take on all this debt is a little irresponsible. And there's no reason college should cost this much.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a reason. And don't get me wrong, I think college is awesome. The higher education you get there, it's great. I think the information you get and just interacting with different people. It's the first time I don't know about you, Dan, interacted with people who weren't from Philadelphia.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
you know what I mean?
Whole different aspect.
It was like a cultural thing. It was kind of awesome.
That's crazy. So the
Right.
first time you interact, because I'm a military
Well,
kid, so I'm
right.
but like you said though, that's crazy though. So you were meeting kids who are like, hey, I'm from the West Coast and
Right.
I'm
Right.
here, and that's
And they're like
crazy.
your housemates or whatever, or like they're
Yeah.
living on the floor with you, and you're like, what, dude? You guys believe in what? And he's like, I'm Buddhist. I'm from the West Coast, and I do this. And you're like,
Hmm?
that's nuts. You're making this up. And it's
I
like,
mean, yeah, because like I've lived all over, so I didn't have that. But the thing I had when I went to college is, you're 18 and you're going out to the club for the first time, and someone's like, "Hey, man, have you had a Moscow Mule?" And you're like, "A what?" And they're like, "Oh, I got you." And then you drink it, and you're like, "Whoa, that's so good!" And like everyone, or like, like it's the little things. But for me, because I just graduated college, so I got the debt, and I'm going to master's degree, so it's deferred. But the way I see it, and I think it's really interesting because I do consume media and I hear about it, and like a lot of my buddies turn me on to like guys like Gary Vaynerchuk and all these entrepreneurs and stuff, like be an entrepreneur, not a entrepreneur and stuff. But like my thing is, I think the education system is kind of the ultimate form because it's an unabetted bet, and you don't know what the payoff is. Like Like if you're an entrepreneur and you take $100,000 in debt because you think you can own this kind of business in 10 years, that's okay. That's actually what people are pushing you to do now versus going to college and spending 30 grand, and like we're saying, learning how to learn, application, and your time. So it comes down to time, talent, and treasure. In college, all you have is time. All you're developing is talent. The end goal should be treasure. But what I feel like is people are telling you to go to college and, it's a liberal arts. The whole idea of that to me is to liberate you from your professors. Your professors should offer thought-provoking stuff. Like, rather than going into a math class and being like, this is how we've done it. This is how we've always done it. This is how you do component-wise summation of vectors, et cetera, et cetera. It should be, hey, here's two lines. How do we add them? And the thing is, like, I've been in classes where no one asks a question all year. Half the kids don't show up.
Right.
And so it's like, is the system wrong or the people not valuing it? And the other thing is, I didn't learn this until my third year. I got kicked out of my majors because my GPA was too low. And I got told I would not graduate college and I should drop out by an advisor. And because based off of my historical accuracy of my transcript. And now I have people like you guys telling me, hey, you're smart, you're wise, you're this and that. And you know what? The only thing that changed is I thought college has used me. I'm going to use them. They're here to serve me. And I thought that was wrong when I first came in because I wanted to be the best person and make sure everyone liked me. I was like, no, my professors are here to educate me. So I'm an econ major, right? I went to the computer science department and knocked on the dean's door every day for like 2 months. And he finally was there one day and he answered and he's like, what do you want? And I was like, I've been trying to code something. It's not working. Please help me. And he was like, okay, you brought in the code. I mean, why not? And he read it, he knows how to code. And I was like, it wasn't good, but I was like, can you please help me? And he was like, do you code? And I was like, no, I've taught myself. Like, this is basically my life's work at this point, And he's like, okay, man, like, I'm going to help you. He's like, I want you to do this, this, and this, read this book, fix it, come back next week. Now I'm getting a master's degree. That's the only thing that changed. And you know what I did? I took that and then I went to the finance department and I was like reading people's CVs. I was like, because if you think about it, the guys at college, they get paid 6 digits, 5 digits to go speak at Goldman Sachs. And they teach entry-level classes at college, So I was like, if they're making that much money, why don't I just go in there, read some of their research, and ask them a few questions? And the thing is, like we talked about early in the episode, everyone wants to feel important. The reason everyone thinks professors hate their lives is because when they're teaching you a class about linear algebra, it's probably because linear algebra to them is like you talking about the different kinds of toilet paper. You're like, I already know them all. What am I getting out of this? Versus when you go and ask them, you're like, hey, I took your linear algebra class 2 semesters ago. What if we take that to the ninth dimension? What does that look like? And that 9 times out of 10, that's when they're like, oh boy, come look at this. And you just look at it and you're like, I didn't even know this is possible. And they're like, me neither until I started doing it. And then 2 hours later, you're like, oh, I got to go to class, man. And they're like, oh, well, here's my business card. Email me. That's what college is about. But the thing is, everyone would rather go out and drink. Everyone wants to do this, or not everyone, it's gross generalization, but like I tell all of my buddies, and I realized like my friends weren't the ones inviting me out to bars. And when I paid for college myself, I didn't have a lot of money. I was working 2 or 3 jobs at a time, and I thought my friends were the guys who were like, hey, Austin, come out to the bar. And I'd be like, I can't pay for cover and I can't buy booze. And they'd be like, you know what? I got you. Those weren't my friends. My friends were the ones that didn't come around until probably the last 8 months, but they were like, Austin, you're not coming to the damn bar with us. You've got a test tomorrow morning. Are you stupid? Go home and study, dude. And it's like, and I'm like, what? I want to go. I want to go and hang out and be cool. I want to be on your Snapchat story. I don't want to wake up the next morning and see how much fun you're having. And they're like, no, man. Like, you always tell me how big and bad you want to be. You really think drinking is going to help with that? And then I'm like, whoa.
Social media feeds into that.
Yeah, and I mean, I in the moment, you're not like, thank you, you're so helpful. But like, looking back, I'm like, that kid changed my life single-handedly. He told me something I didn't want to hear, and now, I'm able to talk to people from Reddit. I'm able to get phone calls from companies and say, hey, we looked at your LinkedIn. And it's like the only thing that has changed is, how much I'm willing to put myself out there. Because the worst thing that can happen is someone tells you no. And like people are so afraid of that, I feel like.
I'm going to give you a counterpoint to that. So I've seen a lot of people that were straight laced through college, and then after college they realized they wanted to have more fun, and then they let loose, and they don't know how to have enough fun, so they just keep trying to have fun throughout their 20s, and then it leads into their 30s. So if there's anybody out there that's focused purely on work, that's great. If you can have a work balance with, college, study, work, and fun, I would go for the fun. I would let loose more in college as long as I knew I was going to graduate and pass.
Yeah.
And I had
And
a lot of
see,
fun in college.
no, that's a good point. And I think the reason, and yeah, no, that's a good point, because this may not be the best bet for everyone, but I think the reason it worked for me is because my biggest passion in life is learning. I love to learn. I don't need to be the smartest person in the room, because I know I'm not, but I love to just know what people are talking about. I used to be like, that doesn't interest me, but that limited me, because like I'm not a big fan of baseball. So I didn't know what an RBI was. I didn't know what this was. And you know what? I was like, how much am I missing out? Like the people who talk about baseball on the surface at the bar, if I talk to them and know what an RBI is and know a little bit about sports, maybe they work for NASA, maybe they work for Tesla, and they were just talking about that. That's their version of weather talk, and like drawing it back to Dan, doesn't matter if you're a janitor or a CEO, everyone can talk sports. So if you can lead in with sports and be like, hey, this is who the Sixers drafted, what do you think? And then, maybe 20 minutes later, the guy's like, hey, I got to go, but want to grab lunch sometime? And you're like, yeah, I got to go to work too. What do you do? And
Leave
he's
on a
like,
plus note, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And that's what inspired me to talk to you guys. You made them better off. They made you better off. Who got used? I'd argue no one, And so it's like, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, not college isn't for everyone. If you don't want to do that, like you said, you could probably be, if you started fishing at 17 and didn't stop until you're 23, because not only did you love it, you were good at it and thought it was fun. Those guys, the boats they go out in Tennessee to bass fishing, they're $100,000 with all the radars and stuff. Guys like you make those radars, And so it's like, you could go to Tennessee and see guys fishing and be like, I don't like fishing. Or you could apply what you know from NASA and be like, damn, that's kind of impressive that they're shooting, radars and it's not getting dispelled by the water and stuff. I wonder if that's similar to how communication works and data management works in space. Like, and I think that's what creativity is like connecting things, like
Using it in different ways.
exactly. And that being said though, so it's like, do you guys think that your education taught you things because it was formal, or did you think you learned things because of your experiences? Because you said you were a journalism major and you're an engineer, so it's like, how would you compare those?
You want to get it, Nick?
Yeah, I'll say. I have, in college, I would say I have 2 to 5 professors. One, it's so crazy. I get his name backwards. It's either Ross Harris or Harris Ross. He just died like 2 weeks ago, but he was one of my favorite professors. That's so weird. I can't remember if it's Ross Harris or Harris Ross. Huh. But he was a Tennessee guy, white beard, white everything, spoke with a Tennessee accent, and he was a journalism guy, and he's like, oh, what's this? This is crazy. And he just had a way of teaching. And he really always said, follow the money. And he was giving great lessons. And it was very informal and very great. And he left an impression on me. And R.I.P., my man. He just passed. I mean, I didn't really talk with him ever after I graduated. But hearing that he passed made me think about him and some of the other professors I had. And then I also had some interesting classes with professors who might not have been personal at all. I never shared an interaction with, except for when they taught in front of the class, but I learned a lot. So I think it's obviously a combination, like nature and nurture.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get what you get from a class. I mean, if you ignore the whole class, you can have a great teacher, you have a horrible teacher. You're not going to get anything from it. So it's a little bit the subject matter, a little bit the teacher, and a little bit your interest. You form a little pyramid, nice little.
Yeah, and when you're growing up, you don't realize that you're leading a sheltered life. There's no way to have a fully rounded life coming from a family unit that might teach you just a set of values and doesn't have the ability to teach you everything. So going through college, you get to learn from different types of people. You get to understand that you need to learn more. And even for me, when I start doing different things that are entrepreneurial, I have a way of starting things and stopping things, and it takes 3 months at a time, and then I fail. and it takes time to understand that you can learn and fail and keep learning and failing, and it's not like you're starting back at zero. You're starting to grow. That's how you learn to grow. You keep failing until you understand how to not fail.
Yeah.
Like that.
What's your definition of failure, like to you?
I don't think that I have a definition of failure. I think I've already succeeded in my goals. So I don't think that I'm going to revert back to being, who I was like 10 years ago. I think I've set up a firm base, so I don't think I could fail. I don't know what failure would be at this point.
I agree with that. What about you, Nick?
It's an interesting way to put it. I think failure for me is more of a family related thing, because I'm very much the mom sometimes to my son. Like I'm always like helping cook and like clean stuff and follow him, and like I probably changed more diapers because I was just around more. And it's just my idea of failure is to not raise him to be open-minded. I don't know. I want him to be a cool person. I want him to grow up and be someone I would like, in all honesty. I want him to be happy, like stuff like that. So that's my idea of failure is based almost on another person, which is weird because until he was born, I was a regular dude. I was a lot of the stuff we talk about on the podcast, but once he was born, my whole definition changed kind of. And now I want him to be able to experience life. I don't know. I just want him to be open-minded. I don't want to be able to look at him and be like, oh, he's a skateboarder who only listens to punk and hates his dad. And if he wants to hate his dad, I don't care. Go ahead. Go for it. But I want him to be multifaceted. I want him to be able to look at the world, kind of like what we were talking about at the very beginning of the podcast. That's my ultimate goal. And if I can't do that, I almost feel like maybe I'm a failure. I don't know. That's the only thing I can relate to.
That's crazy because like I don't have a kid, but my parent I have a dog, and like it's not even the same ballpark. But I think about it like I love the crap out of my dog because he can't talk, he can't do anything for himself. But
what kind of dog?
He's a mutt. He's a Weimaraner though. I got a little blood test. His name's Balto. He's my boy. But the way I think about it is like I love the crap out of that dog, bro. Because like I had a family dog, but it's different when like I remember one time he ran into the wall and I thought he broke his leg, and I was like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? I'm calling everyone, and I'm like wait. And I took a step back that night and I was like, my dog got hurt, and I was like freaking out, calling everyone for 4 hours. I was like, what's it like having a kid? Like the amount of love and stuff, and like I want my dog to like do. This sounds silly, but it's like I want him to have a better life than I do. Like, because he can't do anything for himself. I'm the only one I feel like who can give him the toys, who can give him the runs, who can make sure he's eating good. And it's like, I was like, if that's what it's like having a kid, like like you said, the only way you can fail in life once you've made that kid is like you want them to do better than you. At least like I'm not trying to project on you guys, but it's like you want them to do better than you because like what it's like to have quote unquote failed or hurt or made wrong decisions, and you're like you just want to make sure that they get to experience their best life. Like you said, you want them to be happy, and like you don't want them to be open-minded. Or this is me kind of projecting, but like I don't think you want your kid to be open-minded, your son, because like you value open-mindedness. It's so he can make decisions and live his best life, and it's I think that's like an inspiring thing, man, because it's like it's so cool to hear, two 33-year-old men, like you have children, you have your personal aspirations, but then it's like, what are you going to imbue on that next generation? And that's something you kind of touched on, so it's like, if you don't mind me asking, you said changing diapers, so is he young?
Yeah, he's going to be 4 soon.
Okay, that's awesome, man. Like kudos to you both, like children and stuff, because I think like that's the way I think about it, man. Like I want a career and stuff, but like I want to do well so I can take care of my girlfriend, and someday, like when I have children, like I want to make sure that if they want to go to college, I can help them, and if they don't want to go to college, I can give them advice, or I can hook them up with guys like you, maybe 15 years down from the road we end up being best friends and I have a child, and I'll be like, I remember having a conversation with Nick and Dan, and they're like, maybe not everyone wants to go to college, maybe some people want to fish, and of course me being the guy I am going to get a master's, I'm like, I want you to go to college, I want you to go, but maybe it'd be better if I was like, hey, why don't you talk to one of my buddies and maybe he could give you some advice. Maybe he could really help you find out what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I think failure's given up. That's my definition. I think everything else is just sucking, but that's okay. The first step of being great is sucking. With that being said, I'm going to turn on the light real quick because I got
Yeah,
real
go
Sure,
dark.
sure. You can
Yeah,
keep
I'll
dim.
be right back.
Go for it.
Yeah. I did look up Bill Gates' kids because I was curious. I looked up. There's 3 of them. There's Rory. There's Jennifer and Phoebe. Looks like Phoebe's under 18, so she doesn't have any pictures. I think Jennifer's in college, and I think both of them are kind of cute for their daughters. I wonder how they deal with their dad being one of the richest people in the world.
I did it.
I don't. I mean, how do you trust anybody at that point?
Yeah, I guess you can't. That's a weird thing.
Yeah, to be
So
Bill
we were
Gates'
just
kids.
saying, Bill Gates, he has 3 kids or whatever, and we were just saying, like, imagine if they start dating, like, how can you trust anyone? How are you gonna be like dating anyone? Like, it's pretty much like you're after my money. Like, that's the first thing
yeah.
you think of.
Yeah.
Like, but like, what if is there a way to be like, no, I'm not. I really.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't even think about that. Oh yeah, the trade secrets. It's like you're trying to get in
Right,
bed with Bill
everything.
Gates, not the son or daughter. Yeah, and
I've always been after Bill Gates.
oh yeah, but I'm saying it's like please, but no, I hope my girlfriend doesn't hear that. I'm just kidding, love, but no, but it's like
I'm here to date your son.
yeah, exactly. What's his name again? I
Yeah,
swear
I'm
he
here
added
for
me
him.
on Facebook. It's like, but no, that is something like I think we all struggle with, like, and it's like, we kind of touched on it because it was like, before you were on here, I told Dan, I was like, hey, I don't want to lie to you, like, I don't have my platform yet, so I can't give to you guys in the way that I feel like you're giving to me. Like you guys are,
It's nurturing.
You guys
It's a nurturing thing.
yeah, you guys are putting me on, but the way I see is, I told you guys like I want to be XYZ. So when I do get to that point, I believe I'm the kind of guy, and I hope you guys believe it too, is like I'm going to give back in the ways that I feel like you gave back, and whether that's whatever, if I end up getting a crazy podcast where I can fly people out, I know who would be the first ones, because like I can. People,
Evil Pineapple AI. We're on there. We're going to that one.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like,
I hear
I
you.
feel like that's probably like Bill Gates. I bet he struggles with that. Like every time he meets someone, he's like, they just know me as the Microsoft guy.
Right.
Like, like what are his hobbies? Like, does he like fishing? Like, does he have a Facebook? Like,
right.
he probably
What does he
even
really like, and if he really likes it, he would have to make a fake Twitter account and just start talking with people, or a fake Reddit name like that's super conspicuous, and then make friends with them online and then meet them. Like, you know what I mean? You can't meet them beforehand,
Yeah.
and it's Bill Gates. But like, if you meet someone like, who's Joe Bass Guitar 44, and it's like, oh, dude, that's Bill Gates. Like, you had no idea. Wait, he has to have some like fake accounts, right? Like a lot of things.
He's got an Instagram. He's got a bunch of pictures.
Yeah, but
so
do you think
really?
he has a fake? Do you think he has fake accounts? Burners?
Maybe
Pro-
he has,
I mean,
an
I would.
Xbox Live.
Yeah.
It's like
The
he has like
real
an
Microsoft.
Xbox Live with like a fake
Xbox Live, yeah.
He's got like a fake thing and like a voice changer like the cops use, and he's just like he's like bullshit. I killed you first. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
The game has lag, and then he just logs off. He's like, I'll report you for cheating.
Turns his voice into a
yeah.
13-year-old kid.
Yeah.
About the bunch of crap. What are you doing over there? Stop camping.
oh my god. He goes on Reddit. He goes to like all the Mac fanboy things, and the
Yeah.
moderators ban him.
He
He's
just
like,
goes
"What do you
back.
mean you don't like Windows 10?"
What
And
is
this
everyone's
crap?
like, "Windows 10 is trash." And then he's just like, "You're trash. Your whole life's a trash." And you're just like, "Geez, Bill." I mean, Joe Best Guitar
Right.
44.
Right.
But yeah, man, that's crazy. Because like we were saying earlier, we're all humans. We can make gross generalizations. Like once you get $1 billion, you're not a real human anymore because it's
right.
you can do whatever you want. Versus like. I'm sure Bill Gates has fears, maybe it's something weird, like, I mean, we're probably never going to find out because
Touching
he's,
eels, like they're slimy. It's like
Yeah.
unnatural. That would be weird.
I'm saying, man, like there's some
Imagine he
big,
goes to the aquarium and like they're like, "Hey, Bill, we rented out the whole aquarium. It's like you can touch the manta rays and the eels." And he's like, "I don't want
yeah, no,
to." Come on, Bill, do it. His wife's like holding his hand, putting it in the water. He's
Yeah.
shaking. That'd be weird.
that would be weird. Like, what's the one guy? He's a germaphobe. He's from Americans Got Talent.
Howie Mandel.
Yeah, my sister was watching that, and like I was just like, that's crazy, man. Like, like that's to me, that's like really humanizing.
Does he
like,
shake people's hands, or is he too scared?
No, I think he tries not to. Like he purposely is like, "Oh, hey,"
He
how you
leans
doing?"
away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sways.
Take this bump, dude.
Like, please don't touch me. Like, I don't
Just
know,
keeps a glove
man.
on that one hand. Just pound it.
Hmm.
We're good.
Dude, it's
We're
it's
more.
really strange, dude. Like, I feel like this is crazy. This is why I didn't want to have a structured interview though. Like, you guys kind of feel what I meant. Like, we've touched on like a bajillion different topics, and I feel like I've learned a lot about you guys based off of the way, one, how you listen to me, and two, it's like it's very respectful, like Dan didn't agree with me necessarily on one of my points, but the way he came at it was just so well thought out and like respectful, where I was like, hey man, like I appreciate that. Like you making the no,
I'll be
I'll let
smug
it.
about it. I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
but it's like, but both of you, and it's like, I think that that's cool, or same thing. I could say same thing about Nick, like I've met friends who like, they'll literally listen to me say something. And rather than, you said, you're like, I don't feel like I could add on to that. Like you kind of covered it. They'll like they'll spend the next 10 minutes reiterating what you just said to them. And you're like, you're not going to say anything back because you don't want to be mean, but you're like, okay, like, thanks for saying that. But,
We
it's just like,
we definitely are our own people. That's the one thing that defines Nick and I. If we're in a conversation with the same person at different times, you're not gonna. I mean, you're not gonna have some sort of set statement. Even if you talk to us multiple times about the same thing, we're probably gonna talk
Right.
about something completely different every time.
Right. Off the
Well,
rails.
it's your guys' title, like the fact you guys are called the unpanderers, like shout out to you guys. But it's like, that means like when you guys do agree or when you guys do say things, it means that much more, because I know it's not disingenuous. You're not just doing it for like, hey, maybe this kid is going to be really good someday and I just want him to like me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
we want
like,
to check it out.
yeah,
Here's a
exactly.
question for you, because we do round up in an hour. Are we getting close?
We're getting close.
I want to
Oh
I
yeah.
want to drop the
Oh
good question
geez,
for the end. It's
a
the
good
good
one.
one, the good one. So, what do you think happens to plants when they die? Nothing. They become another plant. They don't care. They don't feel anything. They're just dead.
I actually read a paper. I don't remember what it was
Ooh.
who it was published by, but it said that plants can talk to each other. It's
Yeah, they
like,
release chemicals, I believe.
yeah,
That's why grass knows when grass is getting cut. Is that was in a previous
Yeah,
episode, wasn't
happening.
yeah.
it?
It's
Yeah.
something like that, or it's like the one I read. It was like these bushes that live on like hilltops. If something starts eating it, the wind will carry chemicals. So the same plants down the other hill change their like chemical makeup
To shrivel or change or something to make it
exactly.
look less appetizing.
Yeah,
Oh, we're less appetizing. Don't eat us.
yeah. And
So what happens when they die? I'm just curious. What do you got?
when they die, are they like us, and they like how when things die, like you become fossil fuel,
Yeah,
and it's like
essentially you become fuel for something else or other things, maybe.
every plant has developed a way to spread its seed, but when it dies, its children just they eat it. They grow where it was, and
Okay.
it's the same
So I
thing.
guess
Like,
they are feeding the future then.
Plants
Okay.
are cannibals, is what you're saying.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a crazy question. I don't know, or maybe like that's actually a really crazy question. I feel like
So
that
then
should.
it would just no, that's fine, dude. There's no right answer. That's the beauty of this podcast.
That's what I think. I think they're like us. They make room
So
for
then
whether.
what happens when people die? I don't know if this had religious implications or not. I was just asking.
No,
Like
that's like
like you're an avid learner. You seem like you're youthful. You're full of life, and I want to ask you about death. It's like the most depressing thing in the world. I'm like,
that
what
was.
happens when you die?
I don't know if you meant to. That was extremely like Socratic. The way you did that, you made me come to like a conclusion, and I espoused it. And it's like, oh no, I like it. Like I think that's like a good method of talking about when we die. I don't know, not to make it too spiritual, but like
Yeah, no, yeah,
it's
whatever, dude. You don't have to
it's
get too detailed. Just what's going on?
I think everything's interconnected, and like you read about, or I read about black holes, and there's like singularities and then there's ringularities, the ones that spin. And you read Nietzsche, how do you pronounce his name, and he says time is a circle. And so it's like this idea of maybe maybe that's what happens to us when we die. Not necessarily like we live another life, but it's like in some way the ultimate way of giving back is dying, because it allows someone else to take your place. That makes sense. And
Makes
it's like,
a little bit of sense. I got nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
But
maybe that's what it is. Because
so what happens to Austin then? I was just curious. Does Austin live on in like whatever post you put, or maybe a podcast you appeared in? I don't know, the Panders, or like, is that all that's left? Is like the things you left, whether it was written, recorded, an audio file, a footprint that never got washed because you ran off road or something. Your children, I don't know.
Like, I'm the last male child for my family. So the way I see it, if I don't have a male child, and maybe this is a little sexist or whatever, but like if I don't have a male child,
I mean, it's a last name. That makes sense.
My last name dies. Like there will never be another one of me.
Lineage. Yep.
Exactly. And I think that's the big thing. And the other thing is, like I said, I don't want to be successful and make money for the sake of money. I want to be like a Carnegie, where it's like, I have so much money, all I can do is create universities, or maybe, you talked about you can't wait until there's an online university. I would love to have so much money where I can be like, Dan, you're getting $100 million endowment, build that online school. It's not your money, but like build it. If you can get me a plan in the next year of how you would make an online college work, the money's yours. And like, that would make me feel so good. Because it's like, I gave not only to everyone that he's going to help, but like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's my goal, change the world. And I think everyone's capable of it. Whether it's economic terms, micro or macro, I think it's like, either you change the world or you give your children the values so maybe they could be the change you weren't. Yeah. And maybe, so like open-mindedness.
Build, create, improve, and live on, I guess.
Yeah. You create an echo. The bigger the echo, the better, I guess. But you can create that spiritually, physically. You can build something. Mentally, you can leave behind ideas. You can leave behind works, pieces, digital things. It's just interesting.
Yeah, we have a massive footprint, man. And I think that's actually a really good question. I feel like that's something we should probably ask ourselves more often. Not to be like too macabre, but it's like, what's next? Damn, man. Don Panderers. Yeah, deep.
Give you something to think about.
Came full circle, man. No, dude, this has been sick. Thank you so much for having me on, guys.
Yeah,
this is
a good time. A lot of learning going on, huh?
Yeah. That was awesome. God damn. Damn. That's cool. I'm gonna have to call my girlfriend after this and be like, you won't guess what just happened. I'll be like, I had two guys talk to me for almost 2 hours and they didn't hang up. And she'd be like, what? That's insane, And then I'd be like, yep. And then we ended it with what happens when plants die and what happens when I die. And she'd be like, okay. I'd be like, thumbs up, watch it.
Don't worry about it, babe.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about it. But yeah, man.
Thanks for joining us, dude. Got philosophical. We covered economical, spiritual-nomical, physiognomical. Those are all real words. Look them up.
Financial stability.
I did want to leave my tongue twister because I was thinking of it all week because I don't want to forget it. Sir Sean. No, it didn't work.
Sir Sean.
In my head, it was a tongue twister.
Yeah, that's not as good as a toy boat. You gotta.
And
Austin do the toy boat.
Austin,
you just say
toy boat 5 times in a row, real fast.
Toy boat.
Yeah, dude, it gets
it's hard. It's the most simple thing.
Yeah, it messes you up.
Yeah,
yeah, dude.
I'm gonna have to practice that one in the mirror. That one's weird.
Yeah, that one's tough. That's literally the toughest tongue twister. It's so simple, but we don't know. Anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in. You can check all our socials. Austin has a Reddit if you like Austin. I hope I'm putting it in the right way.
Evil Pineapple AI. You're good there.
Evil Pineapple AI. Check it out. You like our socials? That's awesome too. Thanks for tuning in. Holy shit! You guys got anything to add?
I'm good.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for the platform and the opportunity, man. It's been a hell of an experience.
He's got a bright future, guy. I think he's got something. Right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good.
We like you friggin' lot.
Good night.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a great night, guys. Stay safe.